Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA.
It's time for the unofficial 40. SoonerScoop.com's very official recruiting podcast featuring SoonerScoop.com recruiting publisher Josh McCuistion. Get your recruiting fix from the leader in Sooner recruiting. It's the unofficial 40 with your hosts, SoonerScoop.com publishers Carrie Murdoch and Josh McCuistion.
All right, we are back. It is time for the first unofficial 40 to happen after the regular season, as the boys are all back, and Josh McCuistion in studio. Josh, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, guys. Yourself?
We are doing fantastic. Eddie Radosevich is stealing Royals players left and right in his off time. Eddie Radosevich joins us in studio.
Building a dynasty is what it's called.
It's because you lost Mr. Chapman. By the way, what sense does that make to get rid of someone and then sign them for a ridiculous deal the next year?
They got it. I mean, they got Gilbert Torres, I guess, out of it.
Yankees, you're idiots.
A decent prospect, and then Adam Warren, and I guess without him for 4 months, and then they signed him to $86 million. He's basically getting paid $17 million to record 3 outs a year.
Yeah, I got to disagree with Carrie on this one. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, Chapman's making way more than he's worth, but the Yankees get some talent in their system and just got rid of a player that wasn't going to win them anything anyway.
Okay, you've convinced me. Joe Duvall is with us as well. Baseball talk is over. Joe has been tracking basically Trae Young. Do you have any other jobs besides that, Joe?
Besides Trae Young?
Yes.
I got together about, I think everybody will like that I have all of Sooner Squad 17 senior stats ready to go, save for a few, and I think people like that. I don't think we've really had a comprehensive list like that before.
That's an undertaking. I'm actually proud of you for that. I'm not going to make fun of you for being stat weirdo.
A stat weirdo?
Well, he's still doing stats,
yeah,
so I mean, it basically all fits in
I
the
say
same
that
deal.
as I was on the throne reading a 538 breakdown of the middle class earlier.
Nice. You want to forward that my way?
No.
What? What's that guy's name? Adam Silver? No, not Adam Silver. Nate Silver. Adam Silver's the NBA guy.
Well, we got a lot of stuff to get to today. I mean, we're post Bedlam, which we haven't talked about that since our last podcast. That was going into Bedlam. We now know that there are 2 Heisman Trophy winners. You've got I don't want to talk about it. You got a Joe Mixon tape on the verge of coming out.
What happened?
Shut up, Eddie. I hate you. We got all kinds of stuff on recruiting. Lincoln Riley may or may not have pulled his name out of the Houston coaching search, which was odd. We're going to talk about that a little bit too. But recruiting trail, it's hot right now leading up to signing day. I want to remind everybody, if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't signed up for SoonerScoop.com, let me tell you something. There is an offer that's only lasting until Friday. They've given us the cutoff date. They're cutting it off. But what it is, it's basically Sooner Scoop for half price if you're an OU fan, because, heck, you've got so much bowl gear out right now, hats, Big 12 championship gear. We'll give you a $50 gift card to our Rivals fan shop. It's the same fan shop that the university uses. It's Fanatics. It's all the same. MLB, the Under Armour Fanatics partnership that's all in the news right now. It's Major League Baseball, right? Eddie's looking at me with blanks there. Like, I guess Under Armour is now the official uniform supplier of Major League Baseball.
I did not know
and
that.
It says Fanatics on the jersey. That's our company. That's where you go to get all the clothes. It's all the same stuff. So you get $50 to spend in our store, which is the same store as the university store, all the same stuff. And you get that if you get a year subscription. So pay $100, we give you $50 in OU gear. Essentially, you're going to get Sooner Scoop for a year for $50. So sign up for that. It's only going through Friday at midnight. Was it midnight, Josh? Was that what they sent out?
I believe that's correct, yeah. And that's almost always the cutoff, so I think it's a pretty safe assumption.
And these are deals, I know it used to be, $100 gift card, but we're not doing that anymore. No, no, screw it. We're not doing that anymore. It's too much money. So we're losing too much money on that deal. They're giving $50. This is the best it's going to get. So you're not going to get a $100 deal if that's what you're waiting for. Those deals are gone. I feel like a used car sale.
I was just going to say, you need to have like a midnight commercial.
I'm going
or
to start
something.
a tout service.
No credit checks.
You're a great.
It's a 5-star lock of the week.
The PMT boys have been doing that. They've like reinvented the old school.
The tout stuff.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
We're giving winners.
Okay, so I'm done. I'm done browbeating you into joining SoonerScoop.com. It was just that Eddie got so upset yesterday with the callers to Jim Traber's show.
Oh my gosh.
That they don't know anything about OU football.
I was about to drive off the side of the road, like driving down to Norman for the Hoops game last night. It was just so bad.
I think I know what call you were talking about.
Yeah, I just don't understand how like this guy like just like
he wanted Traber to go like the entire roster who was going to leave and stuff.
And then the other guy that calls in, you just need to start playing a 4-man front. That's what Bama does. Like, no, not really.
So yeah, they play a 3-4.
That gets quoted all the time. Like, I don't know why that's become some common perception. Like, Alabama does not and has not run anything but 3-4 in quite a while.
Yeah. It's because they have gigantic defensive linemen.
They look like 4
defensive
guys.
ends that could be defensive tackles. So anyway, well, I tell you what, let's start there. Defensive line, new offers going out this week. Recently, more offers have gone out there. And Josh, how would you describe? I know it seems like I get this question more than anything. Is you get any defensive linemen? And I'm always like, no, not really. I'm sorry.
You know who they need? They need another Tommy Harris.
That guy's name is Marvin Wilson. So, Josh, just break it down for us. What's going on with defensive line recruiting right now?
Well, I mean, and I think it's one of those things where we talk all the time about, everybody's questioning this or doubting that or whatever. This is fairly valid. I mean, this is, if you look at one spot in this class where you say there's a concern here that something's got to give, I think it's clearly the defensive line. And at the same time, this is kind of that point in the year in a recruiting class where it's kind of, do you fold or do you, double down? Because Oklahoma's still got guys like Josh Pascal, Taquan Graham, the Texas commitment from Temple, Texas, who actually I'm going to go see in a game on Saturday and hope to talk to. Will be he tweeted out yesterday when Coach Thibodeau came by to see him. So there's a lot going on with guys they've been on for a while. But do you go crazy about some guy that probably isn't as good and then lose out on one of these guys? You lose that spot because I know everybody says, well, you just take that guy too. It doesn't work like that. I mean, there's a set number of players you can take, and they've got to make it all work within an 85-man roster. So it's not just, we'll just offer everybody, because then you literally could end up with a bunch of B guys when if you'd have waited and been a little patient, you might have gotten the A guy you wanted all along. So that's kind of where they're at with this defensive end thing. But like you mentioned, 2 new defensive line offers. Tyrese Lott from Ardmore was offered this week. A guy that has always had a lot of promise, but I think in his senior year you finally started to see him kind of touch what everybody expected of him. So I think he's a guy that's moving in the right direction. The one that really surprised me, and I know talking to you guys, you kind of felt the same, was Reese Leotal, the kind of tight end defensive end from Jinx, a guy that Eddie and I have seen for years going up during our spring tours. And I think, and I was told, hey, go watch his defensive line stuff as a senior. He does. He looks like a different guy. I was really impressed with what I see. And I think with what Oklahoma's doing defensively with, again, that 3 down front, he fits in pretty naturally as that 4-eye, 5 type technique type of player. So there's a lot happening. I think also last weekend's official visitor, Lee Autry, is kind of the guy that maybe they're starting to narrow their focus on a little bit at nose guard. And I think maybe we could have a verdict on him within a week or so. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening. I think maybe in a couple of weeks, the picture will be a lot more clear of what OU's doing.
Josh, with Reese Leitao, he's someone I saw him last year play, and he's a good tight end. But we all kind of were in agreement that with what OU had with Calcaterra and Jeremiah Hall already in hand, we didn't really see a role for him as an H-back tight end. Now, if you can say he can play defensive end, play in the defensive line, that's something else. But then the question becomes, do you think that's something he wants to do? Is he open to not playing offense and playing defense at the next level?
And that's a great question. That's something I'm still kind of working to answer because I talked to a few people at Jinx. I mean, like I said, it's obviously as guys who cover the state of Oklahoma, it's a program we're really familiar with. So we knew a few people, and I made some calls yesterday after I got that news, and it's kind of a verdict is out. There was definitely a feeling early in his career he wanted to be a tight end. That's where he saw himself. But I think he's starting to see more offers come in that are saying, hey, we kind of like you on the defensive side of the ball. And I think it's making him rethink things because he's a very smart kid, very savvy. His dad is a college basketball coach. I mean, he kind of understands the mentality. So I think there is definitely some connection to him trying to just understand what is his best ability to continue playing for as long as he can. And I think when you watch him, you have the idea of either an inline blocking tight end, which is, let's face it, kind of a dying breed, or as a defensive end that could probably play in a 3-4 or a 4-3, just depending on what the scheme is.
The way things are working out, let's talk. I know evaluated stuff's going to happen. And it always happens with every program. You try and find a guy last minute because things aren't going well. Tell us about kind of the big targets, the guys that are out there, the big names that are still left, and what's going on with them heading towards signing day. Anybody falling out? Anybody that you just rule out at this point that OU has been chasing?
Well, the guy that I think you have to start with is, obviously Marvin Wilson, the guy that we've talked about for over a year now. The big news this week was him is he has literally dropped Texas from consideration. They are out of his recruitment. And if you talked to me a month ago, I mean, hell, you can go back and listen to the podcast. I was saying I thought Texas was the favorite at that point in time. So this really kind of shakes things up for him. And it goes back to what I've been saying for 3 or 4 months after that Ohio State game when everybody said, OU's out, there's no way they don't have a chance. I think you have to look at the whole situation, and what was going to play out is what I was talking about. Charlie Strong gets fired. Okay, well, Tom Herman's going to get hired, and that's going to change everything. Well, it didn't. I mean, I think it's clear that he wasn't enamored with Herman when he was at Houston, and I don't think that's changed now that he's at Texas, or it's clear that it hasn't. So I think LSU is probably the favorite right now. He seemed to like that hire of Ed Orgeron. So, obviously being the defensive line coach at LSU, that's been who's recruiting him for a while, and we all know Orgeron's a monstrous recruiter. So I think that's definitely where you would lean. But if what I'm told is true, I just don't see Marvin getting far away from home. So really you're looking at 3 options. A&M, who he's kind of always been lukewarm about. LSU, who's been his on-again, off-again kind of private leader really for over a year. And Oklahoma, who prior to that Ohio State game, I thought was very near to taking the lead in his recruitment. So there's a lot happening here. The next guy is Jeff Okudah, kind of the same deal. Announced a final 3, I think it was late last week, of Oklahoma, Florida State, and Ohio State. Okudah, top, I think our number 11 overall player in the country on Rival, so he's a massive recruit. Oklahoma has just kind of stayed around. He's got a great relationship with Kerry Cooks. He's made multiple trips to Norman really since the spring. And then you throw in his relationship with Robert Barnes and some of the other commitments in the class. Oklahoma has an outside chance here. And what gets really interesting is a lot of the rumors about Ohio State's defensive staff. A lot of talk of Luke Fickell becoming the new head coach at Cincinnati, possibly taking Kerry Coombs with him, their defensive backs coach. So there's a lot there. If that happens, then those wheels start turning and you start thinking maybe he's not as locked into Ohio State as everybody thinks.
You just really, you were talking there, and when you switched from Marvin to Okudah, it was like Mel Kiper was on the other line. It really was. You were would you say that he was your idol growing up?
No, and I've said this before, guys, and I mean, and he works for a competing network now, but I have to be honest about it. Like, guys like Bobby Burton and those guys, like, I loved this stuff when I was a kid. Like, people think this is something I came into. When I was like 10, I was making these recruiting lists. I always thought recruiting was amazing, but you guys know me. NFL Combine, the Senior Bowl, like, I am glued to those are holiday weeks for me. Like, I love that stuff. And so it's just, I don't know. I can't get enough of all this stuff, whether it's college to pro, high school to college. I love just watching guys and kind of evaluating where they are.
If you weren't my partner in SoonerScoop.com and you didn't get into recruiting, what do you think you'd be doing right now? Running a free blog?
Yeah. I mean, that's the way that would go. I just have to share my knowledge. And,
well, you didn't
scouting high school kids and promising them the moon.
I didn't think you could start a blog unless you played.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's important when you start it, Eddie, not just as it continues to go.
I definitely like the Mel Kiper combine. It was like combine that Josh kind of hits there. He has that Gruden, Mel Kiper way of talking about football, where it's just kind of, got the offensive guards pulling, got to go to the combine. Just really likes Josh. Truly, 100%. Anybody listening just loves football and recruiting. It's 100% genuine.
I'll stop busting your balls.
No, you're good. It's fair. It's completely fair.
It's we love you. That's why we kid. We kid because we love you.
No. I take no offense to it. I have accepted it about myself a long time ago.
Official visit, or all the visits that are going on out there right now. Obviously, a huge one happened. Was it yesterday in Florida, or 2 days ago?
Yesterday, yeah. Marquise Brown.
And I guess we've got. I noticed West Virginia guy Keenan tagged us on some stuff this morning. So Marquise has moved his announcement back a day. Is that what's going on? Up a day
to Monday. A couple days to Monday.
Okay.
I think it was supposed to be a week from today, and now it's going to be Monday.
The tweet was a little confusing. I think he said November 11th, which is Sunday, but then he said Monday. So I think it is going to be.
Yeah, I think we were even confused last night on exactly when it was.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Monday though.
But what is that? What does that say? That OU visits, he cancels USC. And he's ready to make a decision. What does that say to you?
Sometimes I'm like, guys, we're reading too much into this. I think this one's pretty obvious. Because when I spoke to him on, I guess that would have been Monday afternoon, following his official visit to Oklahoma, he said, I loved it. And he admitted, I thought about, hey, maybe this is the place for me. And he clearly was enamored with, how hard they sold him on, you can be the next Dede Westbrook. And that when, it was kind of the perfect storm for OU, with Westbrook having the huge play, Baker Mayfield announcing in the post game to you all that he's going to be back for next year. I mean, it's really, OU couldn't have choreographed a better weekend for that guy to be on campus. But he said, hey, I still want to take that USC visit. And I said, well, okay, it's still all up in the air because we all know. I mean, we've all seen OU lose guys late to SC. That just happens sometimes. But I felt like going into that SC visit, OU clearly led. I mean, because West Virginia didn't come up a lot. It didn't seem like something he talked about. And some of that's understandable, but there were even some points where I felt like he was open to talk about West Virginia, and he just didn't take that option. So I think OU's clearly out in front. The fact that he's changed his USC plans coming right off the heels of his OU in-home, I think that says a lot. Now, I mean, I wouldn't completely say West Virginia's out because I don't know that definitively, but I think it's a really, really safe bet that he's leaning towards Oklahoma, and that'll be the choice on Monday.
The next question, I guess, would be after that, Josh, is how close of a player is he to Dede Westbrook? I think it's one thing to be able to compare him and say that, yeah, they want him to be the next Dede Westbrook. They want him to play out of the slot and everything like that. But how close is he to being the next Dede Westbrook?
Well, I mean, and it's worth saying that they're going to use him in a way very similar to Dede. He's not going to just be a strictly slot guy, which I think with his size, everybody kind of assumes, and I certainly did too early on. But that was a huge part of their pitch to him this weekend, was that was not going to be the case. So I think you'll see a lot of that. But to me, I see a lot of Jalen Saunders in his game. I think he's a little And it's crazy to say about Dede. I think Marquise being a little bit smaller is maybe a little more natural in his change of direction stuff. I don't know that he's quite as scary vertically as Dede is, but it's not, don't get me wrong, it's not much of a difference. He's very, very fast. He's capable of scoring from anywhere on the field. And I think, the one area where I do see the most resemblance to Saunders is because he is really good as a return guy. And not that Westbrook isn't as well, but I thought that was always one of Saunders' true strengths was in the punt return game. And that's such a quick decision, and you've got to be so twitchy to do it. And I think that's where he's so good. And I think, that, like I said, that's where I probably draw that he reminds me a little more of Jalen, although he's bigger than Jalen was. So that's kind of why they can make that pitch that he'll be more like Dede.
Todd!
Marquise Brown kind of reminds me a lot of the guys that Urban Meyer had at Florida in the mid-2000s. Some of those just smaller guys who could fly and move and natural in space. You could put him at running back, slot, return, anywhere. He just kind of can play all over and is explosive.
Todd!
What's so funny is Josh can't hear anything that we're doing.
That's true. I didn't even think about that.
We're playing Todd over and over again. Josh.
You guys, like, every time you guys go silent, I start to say something, and I'm like, nope, something's happening here.
Well, okay, so outside of Marquise, anything else stand out to you about some of the official visits that have been going on the last week and a half?
Well, we talked about Lee Autry. I think, with Oklahoma offering him while he was on campus, I think he clearly, the guy out of the Mississippi Junior College ranks, I think he's a guy that Oklahoma is now kind of moving forward with. We can talk about this weekend's official visitors kind of going forward if you want to, but I won't kind of bog that down. But, yeah, I think, and obviously the other guy, and we've talked about him some, this morning, Noah Daniels announcing he's going to make his announcement on Sunday following his official visit last weekend and his expected official visit to TCU this weekend. So I think we'll all kind of know the score with him, like I said, in just a few days.
And for people, Noah Daniels is the kid that was committed to Baylor, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Sorry. Defensive back out of the, kind of Houston area. Actually lives very close to me in Houston.
I'm trying to do a little bit of recruiting for dummies on the podcast since it's not the hardcore scoopers.
I get it. I that's something you and I've talked about for years. I'm so bad about, I assume everybody has all the same stuff I have.
Josh's biggest pet peeve is hashtagging Sooners on your post when you forget to do
it.
He can tell you my biggest pet peeve is, Josh, not everybody knows as much as you when it comes to recruiting. Ugh. You gotta talk it out to the dummies.
But wouldn't it be great if they did?
Well, they're all on the board.
And that's why you sign up, people.
That's the perfect guy that I was talking about.
The perfect guy?
No, like what I was tweeting about yesterday with the guy that called in to Traver's show. He needs to sign up to SoonerScoop. Yeah.
Get woke.
Although I have a feeling that type of guy, just by the sound of his voice, he'd get eaten alive.
Yeah, he'd come on there and say something really stupid and forceful.
He kind of seemed like he was borderline, I'm going to call in and ask what time the game is and is it on TV type of guy.
Nothing worse than calling and asking questions that you can Google.
I really want to do a segment. I don't think they'll let me where I listen to Al's show every night and do a Google that up segment and just do questions from guys that are like, hey, Al, who's back up to Emmanuel Beal? Or they'll just say, who's back up that number 14?
Yeah, number 14. Give out the number.
Be good at it.
I always like who's the coach of. Like, who's the head coach over there at Alabama? A, that you don't know that, and B, secondly, Google Alabama head coach. It's real straightforward.
I would just give false information if that were me. I'm not Google. I'm the radio. I'm not going to lose a listener.
Actually, what you could do is actually ask Siri questions when people call you. I think that'd be a good compromise.
Siri probably just does not compute.
What's worse, to go through the process of, you call into Al's show, you stay on hold for a couple minutes, you kind of just sit there and, you're doing whatever you're doing to get an answer to a question you could have Googled in 10 seconds, or to ask those kind of questions on the board where you are literally on the computer and could type it into Google.
It's worse to do it on the board.
Absolutely, 100%. worse on the board
What's
because
game time on Saturday?
because you not only navigated your way to a message board, but you
clicked
knew
post
how to post.
new topic.
Yeah.
There are questions within threads where the answer lies just above. If you just scroll up in the thread, there the answer would be. But people still ask the question.
That's Al Ashback. He's on the board all the time. So those of you who rip him constantly, stop it. Be nice.
I like Al.
Al's a good man.
I think Eddie and I both had him for class back in the day, right?
I spoke to his class lately.
Oh, yeah. How'd that go?
Horrific experience.
Oh, yeah.
What was so horrific?
Doing it.
Did they get all those notes we sent?
Look, okay, so we have thousands of people that will listen to this podcast. I mean, I'm not kidding. Like almost 10,000 people individually will listen to this podcast. Thousands of people listen to everyone individually. We have all these statistics. It doesn't bother me at all. Like, because I don't see you. Like, you might as well not exist. Like, I am not. I've been doing radio for God, I don't know how long, since 2002. So that's 14 years, and I'm used to.
That's almost half of my life.
Shut up, Eddie.
That is half my life.
So I'm used to it. It doesn't bother me. I'm comfortable doing it. But I was trying to think that I spoke publicly one time as a best man. There was something else I did publicly, and I can't remember what it was, but I remember it went terribly. And then so that was like this. I think that was the third time in my life, and there were only like 15 kids in that room. And here's the really bad part. And this is like, I've been away from college for too long because I forgot how things work. Like, there are kids in there taking that class that have no wishes or desires to get into journalism whatsoever. So I asked, okay, how many of you guys, let me just show of hands, how many of you guys want to get into like print journalism, print, internet, online, newspaper? So maybe like 4 kids raised their hand, and I was like, oh, all TV people in here. Eddie'd be proud. And so I said, well, how many of you guys want to get into electronic journalism, broadcasting, television, radio, stuff like that? Like 3 more people raised their hand. So there was like 8 people in there that didn't even care what I was talking about. So then I thought, this sucks. Like, I'm wasting my time. And I'm not, but it was cool because like Carson Williams was in that class. I know him; he's a kid. Has been working for the OU TV stuff for a long time. And Joe Bettner, a really good guy, came in. He wasn't even in the class; he just wanted to come hang out and see what I had to say. So it was cool. I mean, one kid asked me like about other websites and stuff. I won't say which one, and I blasted him in front of the kids. Told them what I really thought. I ripped on aggregators and Bleacher Report and all that crap. Just kind of tell them how the internet has evolved over the years. But it's like the whole time I'm talking, I can't breathe and I can't catch my breath. And it's on the 3rd floor, so you have to walk up those, and they're not just like stairs. They're the giant sweeping circular stairs. So you're literally probably walking up 6 flights of stairs going up to the 3rd floor. And I'm following Al, and Al, as small as he is, he's like Speed Racer.
He just float up.
He does. He's just like, dun, 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 dun. I'm just like, Jesus, Al. It's like I wanted to take the elevator, but I ran into Al in the lobby. So
that same thing happens to me when I talk to small groups. Like I can't breathe. I can feel my chest starting to go. If I talk to like a whole auditorium, or if I talk on this,
and you
thing,
feel
nothing.
like you feel like you can't take a breath, like
Right.
because if you pause, it's going to be awkward.
Yep.
So you can't just sit there and go. No, it seems like it's too long and it's going to be weird. So I was out of breath the entire time. It was like an hour and a half. It was much better when I took questions. I should have taken questions the whole time.
Just open it up. Open the floor.
Like Josh and I did I remember that thing we did a long time ago with Kevin Sumlin and Chris Wilson, like out at that, we took questions. We had a big audience. It was a SoonerScoop thing. This was before Eddie was around.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good thing.
They gave us a
everybody
mic, and I didn't like that's something I didn't really have a problem doing that because we were just saying hello. Here's the coaches. You can ask questions, and we talk to them. Like that's more like doing a radio show. So anyway, it was terrifying. I bet those kids walk on. Man, that guy's so weird. He like can't even breathe.
So to be clear, though, you were hating on Bob Prisbillo during the.
No, I would never hate on Bob Prisbillo.
No,
Bob's a good guy.
it was probably people that are meaningless.
Jeez, Eddie.
I set Eddie up. I should. That's me. That's my fault.
Bob's a good dude.
Okay. Do we have
Carson
some...
said you did well, though.
Okay. I was invited back.
good.
Al said he wants to have me there every year, so we'll see. Do we have anything major recruiting left to talk about? Or do we want to get in the madness of postseason?
I think
I'd just say the one thing. Have we talked
Trae
about
Young? We didn't talk about Trae Young.
Jalen Johnson?
No.
He confirmed that he's taking an official visit to Norman this weekend, Josh.
Yep. Rivals 100 corner from Fresno, another of that same Fresno tree that's
worked so
Micaiah
well.
Quick, Atari Bird, Caleb Kelly.
What a bang up pipeline.
Caleb
that's
Kelly
been.
is their saving grace right
Yes.
now. So that's going to be the.
I don't think
the thing
Atari Bird or LJ Moore are doing anything.
Atari Bird actually retweeted the SoonerScoop
Yeah, he
account
did.
last night.
Did he really?
Yeah, and I was like, oh
Was it
my
about
god,
all Big 12 stuff?
Yeah.
Like Dede or something.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, he's alive. This is amazing.
I still follow him, and I don't think he does anything.
Not playing anywhere or anything.
No, I don't even know if he's in college.
Wasn't that T. Shepard guy a Fresno guy too?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And that same group of guys, the same trainer and all that good stuff. But yeah, we'll make it quick. Jalen Johnson coming in. I have been told Matt Leo, the recent defensive end offer from the Arizona junior colleges, he'll be in as well. And the third guy that I'm expecting is the running back commitment from Lackawanna. Marcellus Sutton will take his official visit. So those are the three that I know of. Now, last week there were some late changes. Jamias Williams came in. So there's still some things that can happen. But those are the three that I'm expecting as we speak.
Everybody was bagging on, Tim Kish is living at Lackawanna. And then the first few games start, and everybody's like, oh, God, those Lackawanna guys are really good. Emmanuel Beals ended up being a starter. We thought Capri Doucette was going to be the better player when we first saw him, and he's just disappeared completely.
It's kind of weird.
The Ashton Julius has never done anything.
It's kind of weird how Capri Doucette is just. I mean, he's definitely there. He dresses out.
I've watched him. I mean, we talked about that last week on the boards, and I was like, I need to really watch and see how much he's doing in pregame. But he did everything that everybody else did. It's just
Caleb Kelly, right?
Caleb Kelly's just taking over, which I think is the right play to make.
Right.
I think Capri Doucette showed early that he has speed off the edge, and that was kind of a nice asset. But once you saw what Caleb Kelly could do completely in both the run and the pass and with everything he has, I don't know if there's a role for Capri Doucette unless it's just behind Caleb Kelly.
Maybe they can go be boxers with Mike Ballaghan if that doesn't work out. He's a boxer now.
Like a legitimate
boxer.
I'm going to see him on Friday Night Lights
I
on
think
ESPN
he's like
at
6-0 now or something. But he'd have to
Really?
be almost 30 now.
I would not get in the ring with him. I'll put it that way.
2008, he was here. It was his last
That's probably
year.
about right, yeah.
Yeah, he's probably more than 30. I bet he's 32. I mean, he was 2 or 3 years removed when he showed up, or he was 2 or 3 years before he went to JUCO and showed up.
Well, he was playing in that California penal system or whatever that was.
Yeah, whatever got him in the trouble, yeah.
I think it was more like a New England semi-pro league.
At what point does old man strength cross over the apex? Are you not getting stronger anymore? Is it 40, or are you still getting old man strength then?
No, you're juicing if you're getting stronger at 40.
But I'm talking about like that, like your dad, for some reason, can just always beat your butt no matter what, even if he's 40, 50 years old. That old man kind of, he's stronger.
I think 50s is when it starts dropping down. My dad did a
cycle
10K on Thanksgiving.
Holy cow.
This
And
year?
he ran it, yeah.
Jeez. I don't know if I've ran a 10K total
And
in my
he's
life.
69, I think.
Nice.
Tiffany ran a half marathon about a month ago, so she'd run a couple of them. Don't get me wrong, she's not 69. That's awesome, but
nice. 69. Nice.
Wow.
That's Eddie.
Every time Eddie says that, I see the guy, the GIF from the South Park where he's like, "Nice."
That's what it is. I need to watch
That's exactly what I think of every time I hear him say it.
I need to watch this week's season finale. I still haven't watched it yet.
Okay, so let's talk about coaching situations. Houston reportedly about to hire Lane Kiffin today. It was it came out, I think Dennis Dodd was definitely the first person to put it out that Lincoln Riley interviewed. And I have some Houston connections, and I checked it, and everything was really quiet. And I never could interview Lincoln Riley interviewed, or I never could verify he interviewed, and then they did say it in the release that they put out today, or yesterday, saying that he was no longer a candidate. And it was just weird that they would say these are our candidates, and I mean, there's no way in my mind that Lincoln Riley didn't tell him thanks but no thanks. For them to put on that. I mean, they could have said, look, we're looking to hire a sitting head coach or someone that's been a head coach. And we're just not willing to take a chance on a coordinator right now. That could have happened, but it also looked like Lincoln just said, yeah, I'm going to go back to Oklahoma for another year.
Also, Baker Mayfield, what he said also kind of leads credence to that. Didn't it feel like...
Baker said the same stuff last year, though.
I know, but didn't it feel like the way he said that he and Riley had kind of come together with an agreement that they were going to come back, like if I come back, you come back kind of deal? That's the vibe I got from it.
He can say that all he wants. I mean, no one can begrudge someone else for taking a job for millions of dollars.
Yeah, that, and I don't think that anybody has, especially in Baker Mayfield's situation, I don't think anybody's ever declared to go to the Canadian Football League either.
Yeah, so
Eddie's on fire today.
Yeah. Kerry, talking to some sources, did you get the same feeling that everybody else was, like in Norman was kind of, we don't know what's happening here? Like, I got the impression that no one was sure what was going on.
Yeah, he didn't. I mean, I'm sure Bob knew what was going on.
Of course, yeah.
But I don't think I know the other assistants didn't know. I mean, maybe Dennis Simmons or someone that's been with him for a while knew. But it was not well known by the assistants that he had interviewed or not.
That has to be a really weird,
But they're all out recruiting too, so nobody's really communicating as much right now on those kind of things.
It just has to be a weird dynamic when a coach goes out, like especially during this time of the season when there are like recruiting or rumors going around that such and such is going to interview for this job, or this guy's going to go to take an offensive coordinator job elsewhere. That has to be kind of weird. Don't the coaches? I would have to think that they talk about that kind of stuff, don't they?
If they're close, yeah. But I mean, are the defensive coaches and the offensive coaches?
Yeah.
Unless they just happen to really get along and have developed a bond and a friendship. I mean, I think they just kind of operate, independently.
I guess it's a personal matter.
Yeah,
personal matter.
But if you're close with someone, I mean, like if Bill Bedenbaugh heard, that report or whatever, he'd probably text Lincoln and say, hey, you interviewing with Houston? And he'd probably say, yeah, I'm doing it tomorrow at 4.
Yeah, I mean, his career could be changed, right? If Lincoln does take the job in Houston, then that may mean Bill Bedenbaugh goes with him. So those guys' careers might be kind of tethered together. So
I don't think Bill would go with him. Wherever he's going to land, he's probably not going to be able to make as much as he is at Oklahoma. Unless Bob said, no, you're not going to be my offensive coordinator, and he really wanted to be his offensive coordinator.
And Lincoln says, hey, you can come be my offensive coordinator. I'm calling plays still, but you can come be my offensive coordinator. It comes with that title, and that'll help you move on if that's what you want to do. I mean, that's obviously all hypothetical, but that's something that could have happened, and you'd have to think that Bedenbaugh and Riley are at least feeling each other out on those kinds of things.
Regardless, it feels like this was a big news for Oklahoma. I mean, they're going to get Lincoln Riley back. There aren't any more jobs out there that...
He's not going to take Temple. He's not going to take...
South Florida.
Yeah.
Even something crazy like Oregon, they got the South Florida coach, so there's nothing really out there for him.
And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense because... When usually when you see an OC and a quarterback that seem to have a real connection like Riley and Mayfield seem to have, it seems like a lot of times that OC will ride out that quarterback, and then once that's over, okay, now I'm ready to, and not so much of any sort of loyalty, but just because that next year, whoever is the quarterback after Baker Mayfield, there's going to be that time when, oh, well, maybe Riley's not as good as we thought he was. Maybe it was all Baker Mayfield. No, he's really good, and this next guy's probably going to be a good player. He's just not Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I mean, whoever it is, I mean, they're going to be different. I mean, it's just like you have a Johnny Manziel. You have guys that are coming in, they're going to be good. They're just going to be different. They're not going to be the same. Yep. Just like Baker wasn't the same. Sam Bradford was different than Baker, and he was better in a lot of ways. I thought this was funny because Baker has a great arm. But you remember, Eddie, I don't know, this was maybe the Kansas game, but they showed like a highlight video of Sam for some reason before the game, like during pregame. I don't know if you saw it or not. Or maybe it was just the 2008 team, kind of a tribute to him or something. It might have been an anniversary of something. And just watching those highlights, it's like I literally forgot how incredible Sam Bradford was as a quarterback when he was in college. Like how, because you see him just getting killed every week in the NFL, and you have for how many years has it been? 8 years?
Yeah, 8 years.
And you forget, like, he was the most accurate thrower that I've ever seen in my life. And just how tall he was and how hard he could throw the football. And I had this argument with, I can't remember if it was Dusty or somebody the other day, just about Sam Bradford. People want to say, how does he compare to Baker Mayfield? Sam Bradford never had a Sterling Shepard or a Dede Westbrook. Never had. He had a young Ryan Broyles. That's the best he had. But remember, Ryan Broyles was seen as someone that was, less than Joaquin Iglesias or Manny Johnson. I mean, Jermaine Gresham was his best.
Yeah, he had
best target.
Gresham,
and they threw to DeMarco a lot in the backfield.
But Sam, I think, is still even accurate. I don't think he ever lost his accuracy. No. His thing at Oklahoma was he had that offensive line, and the things that you kind of need to have to be great as a quarterback, even guys like Tom Brady have an ability to find a way to maneuver and find space to throw through. Sam just doesn't quite have that feel, but he's still accurate. There's some deeper level stats in that even when he was in St. Louis, he was one of the more accurate quarterbacks in the NFL throwing downfield. He just had led the league in drops and hits and things of that nature. So
he's always had terrible receivers in the NFL too.
Awful. I mean, I think at one point Mark Clayton was his top guy and was playing well. I mean, that shows you kind of.
I don't know if he has one receiver that were one of his main receivers that is still actively in a starting rotation anywhere. Amendola's it, but he left.
But
after a couple of years, right?
Yeah, I mean, he got out of St. Louis.
Anyway, we're way off track. I'm just trying to say that, I didn't think OU would ever have a quarterback as good as Sam. Now you got Baker Mayfield going to New York. He's in Atlanta right now. The Home Depot Awards are starting tonight as we're doing this podcast. They are going to award the Blitnikoff there. I can't believe that the kid from Northwestern or East Carolina would win it over Dede Westbrook, but you never know.
You want to see a meltdown? You want to see a meltdown? Give it to somebody other than Dede Westbrook. It's like I texted you yesterday and said, what if they give the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year to Deonta Foreman?
Yeah.
That would have been another meltdown.
Well, it's just like...
Or Mahomes.
Josh, you probably... you can speak to this better than anybody, but I never understood how people in Texas got so... They got it in their brains like Deontay Foreman was going to be in New York City for the Heisman. It's like, no, he played on a team who fired their coach. You don't go to the Heisman ceremony when you're on that type of team. It's like, did they forget, Josh, what the Heisman was all about?
Well, and I should start this with, I hate the idea of, it's best player on the best team. I hate that crap. Like the Jalen Hurts as a Heisman candidate was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard.
I agree.
Agreed.
He's maybe the fifth best player on his own team, maybe.
He might be.
I hate that kind of idea. But at the same time, if you are that great, you're taking your team to a bowl game. Especially at a position where you can impact every single play, like running back. I mean, whether it's blocking and you say, he doesn't touch it every time like a quarterback. Yeah, that's great and all, but the way he ran the ball, he pretty much did touch it every time. He was their offense down the stretch. I mean, I want to say. Yeah, he was second in the country in total carries behind Donnell Pumphrey, who, if you want to make a case for a running back that maybe should be there, I could make a better case for Pumphrey than I could Foreman because of the team he played on, very good, and really is the offense for San Diego State. So, that's just one of those deals where, like I said, I understand that he had a great year, and he surprised everybody, including me. But a Heisman guy, I don't know. If you told me that Samaje Perine would get 323 carries running that Texas offense where they're spreading you wide, do I feel like there's a decent chance Perine does the same thing Foreman did? I do. I really do. Now, could I take a Texas receiver and do what Dede Westbrook did? Hell no. So, that's kind of where it gets down to it to me. Can other guys do what you did?
You know, here's the thing that was weird about the Heisman this year is I think if USC had won the Pac-12, Adoree Jackson would be in New York. But you had Adoree Jackson, you had Christian McCaffrey, you had Jake Browning, and nobody could really come to a consensus on which was the best of those players. And it just the vote got kind of split. And I'm sure a lot of people were putting other people like Deshaun Watson or Lamar Jackson in their 1, 2, and 3. But it was just a very strange year out west because there wasn't a dominant team, and the best player I thought out there was Adoree Jackson. I mean, I think he's a guy that just dominates a game at the cornerback spot, and you never see that.
The most amazing thing I think that I've seen today is USA Today came out with their All-American team. Adoree Jackson made it, but he's second-team returning specialist. That's it. He didn't even make...
Who were their first-team corners?
Let's see. First-team corners were Desmond King from Iowa and Cordray Tankersley from Clemson.
Yeah, Tankersley's pretty good.
And then second team was Minka Fitzpatrick from Bama, and actually Rasul Douglas from West Virginia was second team defense. But Adoree Jackson, I feel like he's the most talented he's the most athletic
electric,
player,
dynamic, explosive player in college
in the country.
football.
There's no doubt about it.
I don't think Jabril Peppers even comes close.
Didn't you go see him in high school, Josh, at Sarah? Was he part of that group that you went out and saw?
No, I didn't get a chance to see him. That was a deal where basically it was that game or one other, and I didn't get a chance to go see him. I really wanted to, but it just didn't work out in that California trip that I made.
Oh, no, you went – that's right. You went and saw what's his name instead, the receiver from La
I saw
Mirada.
Dallas Todd, and then
Dallas
I went
Todd.
over and saw some guys at Salesian who looked fairly possible for Oklahoma, but literally went to California and saw 3 guys with OU offers, and none of them, I don't think Todd ever even had a catch in an OU game, did he?
He had a catch in the spring game. I don't know about a real game.
Okay, well, that's something. But, yeah, I mean, that's that trip. I saw Mark Andrews in Phoenix, and that really ended up being the saving grace of that whole 2-day trip.
Anything stand out to you guys about the Big 12 list, the official Big 12 coaches team?
No,
I tweeted this, but if you're going to put somebody from OU's defense on there, you have to put Stephen Parker on there.
Yeah, the Jordans got it right. It's Jordan Thomas and Jordan Evans made it, but not Stephen Parker. Correct.
And look, Jordan Evans deserves to make the team. But, man, Stephen Parker was the only guy that was consistently making plays for Oklahoma's defense. So even when they were terrible, he was making plays for their defense.
And if you subscribe to the thought that his partner on the back end is not the best safety in the Big 12, he had even more.
Ahmad Thomas had the worst year possible?
Correct. That he had even more to kind of compensate for in that role, especially considering how bad Oklahoma's defense was in general, stopping the pass. So there was a lot on Stephen Parker's shoulders. And, I think when he was the guy that kind of started the turnover stretch. OU had those so many games where they couldn't get a turnover. And then I think it was back-to-back games, Parker gets an interception and a fumble recovery, and that kind of sparked down the stretch that onslaught of Jordan Evans pick 6 and some more turnovers coming. Stephen Parker kind of sparked that whole thing.
I don't know if I've ever seen a bigger dud season than the one Ahmad Thomas put together this year by a senior, a guy that seemingly made so much progress between his sophomore and junior year.
It was like he did the reverse Gabe Lynn.
Yeah.
The reverse Jonathan Nelson.
Yeah, had a really good junior year, then a really poor senior year.
It's a good example. I forgot about Jonathan Nelson, how good he had just his final year at OU.
Yeah, on the flip side, I think of a couple receivers who kind of were supposed to have big senior years and then didn't, like Adron Tennell and Brandon Caleb. Was that 2009? 2 seniors that you kind of felt were about to do something and then just were.
Well, that was why Sam didn't
horrific.
have a decent receiving course, because Adron Tennell was supposed to be this star going into 2008, and then he couldn't catch a ball.
I'll literally guarantee you guys in the thread on the board about this, I'm going to hear about my Fearless 20 from that year when I picked Adron Tennell to come out of nowhere and have 1,000-yard receiving season.
It wasn't your fault, though. Every player bragged on him during the preseason that year, even the spring. And then I remember when Sam Bradford let him come to his pro day, we were like, Sam, what are you doing? He screwed everyone. And I think he was the only person that dropped the pass.
They had one drop, I think, and I think it was Adron.
Yeah. So anyway, but Oklahoma State, just let's talk about that real quick. Just a bizarre game. I rewatched the game last night for the first time. I still think it's targeting on Dede Westbrook. I know you can say he led with his shoulder, but the crown of his helmet still hit Dede Westbrook in the chin. And he had a gigantic, did you see the butterfly dressing on his chin this week?
Yeah.
When he came and talked to us?
Yeah, on Monday night.
It was a bad looking gash on his
I took it.
chin.
Did that happen from the game, or was that from like him and Baxter getting into it?
I don't know. He tried to explain it.
He didn't do a good job explaining it. 'Cause
No.
I took it as like him and Baxter got into it on the basketball court.
He basically said Jordan Stearns, that was a good hit.
Yeah.
And then I guess that's what he was saying, maybe. I mean, what the hell are you doing, Jarvis Baxter? You know the guy just had a concussion, and now you're out trying to kill him on a basketball
He
court?
only has one game left. He's probably trying to get on the field.
Showing that toughness.
That's true. I didn't think about that. Trying to take him out with the huff.
Let's go play basketball.
But, you know,
I like it, like a Nancy Kerrigan scenario. I got you. Took me a second to get there.
I think defensively, Justice Hill's really good. That's the first time I've really got to see. That's the first time I have got to see him in person. And I just think, I'll give Mike Stoops a lot of credit here. Coming out of the halftime, they got, 2 or 3 straight 3-and-outs? Mm-hmm. They were fantastic on defense. That was the best halftime adjustments I've probably seen Mike Stoops make in 3 years at Oklahoma.
Yeah, OSU had 3 points after halftime.
I think that was the best half of football they played all year.
I think you're right, yeah.
You finally saw them getting pressure out on the quarterback. Obo had an amazing game. It was kind of like, that was the defense that I expected the entire year.
Well, you notice, I know you did the Monday morning in it, Josh, but did you notice, like, in the first half, they were bringing, like, Jordan Thomas, remember that run blitz he had where they got a holding penalty because the lineman couldn't pick him up fast enough? But he was blitzing Jordan Thomas. He was blitzing Stephen Parker. He was bringing guys from angles all over the place that first half just to try and make something happen. And then after halftime, it was like they just dialed it in, and they didn't have to do anything tricky at all. I think they realized that not just Mason Rudolph couldn't throw the football, but that Mike Stoops wasn't going to throw the football deep.
Yeah. Well, and the narrative around here is that OSU wasn't...
Mike Gundy,
Yeah. The narrative around here for the last week and a half has been that OSU was conservative, which they were. They were very conservative.
Mason Rudolph was terrible.
There were a couple times, too, though,
bro.
that it looked like they were trying to go deep, and OU just got a little bit more pressure on them than they had all season.
That's true.
And to me, Mason Rudolph also, he couldn't throw a deep ball that game, whether it was the weather or what. What do you want to? People even talked about his hand size. He can't.
He's got Trump hands or something.
Got those Trump hands. But he couldn't get anything downfield that wasn't a little wobbly. He couldn't get anything with some zip on it in that weather.
That pass he threw to James Washington, that 60-yard, that was the ugliest deep ball I've ever seen in my entire life.
Like hung up in the air.
It literally looked like he threw it. I thought it was going to go backwards when it left his hand because it went like it didn't. There was no trajectory. It just went straight up in the air.
Kind of jumps out of his hand.
Yeah,
funny.
it was so bizarre.
And to be the negative Nelly, it still beat Jordan Thomas.
Yeah.
First team all Big 12.
You're a jerk.
No, I can't understand it. You talk about a guy that regressed from year one. I don't think there's anybody. Ahmad Thomas, I guess I was never as sold on what he was as a junior. I don't know what happened to that guy this year. I don't know where his head was. He just never looked right, except for that one half against Texas.
The first half against Texas.
I sometimes wonder if Jordan Thomas just has that personality where he thinks he's smarter than everybody else, so he doesn't listen.
Oh, I could see that, yeah. I think he's even talked about that he when he lets up big plays is when he just starts to kind of get in a lull and get too cocky. I think he's just one of those kids where if he makes a mistake on a math test, it's not because he didn't know the answer. It's because he just went too fast and got cocky.
I don't know. I mean, there's been some weird stuff with him and his family that they've had on social media. His dad's an Army veteran or something, or Navy or something like that. Used to be a journalist. Now he does something else. I kind of get the feeling that like his parents are very demanding and I don't want to say overbearing, but like, they've watched his every move. And I think he's kind of gone through, I think some of the problems that he's had is rebelling a little bit. Just being a kid. It's like a preacher's kid that just finally goes nuts.
Gets to college, gets on his own.
Yeah.
Doing his own thing.
All the preacher kids I knew were nuts in high school already.
I will say on Jordan Thomas, I don't think there's any chance that he comes out. I just from talking to him in that short amount of time we did before Bedlam, he just didn't give me the feel of somebody that was thinking I'm getting ready to pack up here in about a month and leave.
Yeah, and Kerry asked him if he was going to graduate from school, and he said no, he's not.
He laughed. He no.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought you were really smart. I mean, I didn't say that to him, but I was like, I want to say, Kendall Thompson graduated in 2.5 years here, and he wasn't majoring in engineering, so. But I guess he's not doing that anymore. So
yeah, I don't know how you could do engineering and be a football player. I remember when he said that when he committed to Oklahoma at the time, flipped from Northwestern, that he wanted to come to Oklahoma for their engineering program. And I remember thinking at the time, they're not going to let him do that. There's no way he's still doing that, right? I guess
he's African American studies. I think is what he's doing now. Which, like I said, I think that's kind of his parents, pushing that on him, wanting him to be that.
And if let's just say if they are, that way, and if he hasn't graduated yet, that would make sense if he came back and went ahead and got his degree.
He's an interesting fellow. I to be honest with you, I kind of feel the same way you do, Eddie, but it's not going to surprise me if he declares for the draft.
Right.
Is he the one guy left that's the most, outside of the running backs, is he the guy that's most up in the air now?
Yeah, probably so, because if you go off what Jamal Brown says, Orlando Brown's going to come back.
Orlando is not going to do something that Jamal Brown doesn't want him to do. I don't think so.
Yeah, it seems like very much like
it's a father-son kind of thing.
Yeah, which is really cool on Jamal Brown's part.
Yeah, he's been his mentor, and I haven't talked to Jamal about it. I need to, but it is amazing. I mean, he's taken him under his wing. I think knowing that he had a dad that played in the league, that he's got some anger issues, obviously, we've seen this year. Likes to fight on the field and likes to get penalties. Likes to fight with anybody that wants to fight. The other team's bench.
I've never seen Bob Stoops get as pissed off as he was after the personal foul or the unsportsmanlike penalty right before the Pirine fumble. Yeah, I'll put it up on the board, but he almost lost it. He almost lost everything.
Now, the Joe Mixon stuff, Samaje Perine, I did put that on the board. I'll say this. I was like everybody else, and then I thought, well, surely he's going. It'd be stupid for him to stay. He's getting sued for money. He's got this tape hanging over him. Why would he stay? Just get to the NFL while you can. I've been there for a long time. Like with it, I've heard some stuff recently where I'm not there anymore. I've heard that Joe has talked to people about the possibility, not even the possibility, that basically telling some people close to him that he's coming back to Oklahoma next year. And I tried to say this when I wrote the thing, and people, it's hard for. I understand that this is difficult to understand, like why he would, but you don't know how other people think. We don't know how Joe thinks. But I'll say this: I'm learning that Joe just kind of does what Joe wants to do. He doesn't worry about what's going on with this lawsuit. He doesn't worry about what happens if the videotape comes out. All he's thinking about is he likes playing football at Oklahoma. He likes his coaches. He likes his teammates. He's comfortable. I think football is the one thing that he's had, and football at Oklahoma is the one thing he's had with all this craziness going on around him, with all the people, probably saying, nasty things to him through social media. The one thing that has been normal in his life, I think, has been OU football. If I could explain it, and nobody's told me that, but that's kind of the feeling I get from talking to people. So he wants to, I think he wants to continue to be a part of that.
It's interesting, too, that I think that, I don't know, I guess it's been talked about a little bit before, but his relationship with Jerry Schmidt, I think, is about as strong as I can ever remember a former player having with
It's probably because when he was sitting out that year.
That's the only guy I think that hung out with him. Yeah. Just as far as
the only guy he could talk to.
Yeah. And I feel like every game they come out 30 minutes before anybody else comes out and they throw the ball around. And it's
even
usually
with a torn Achilles and a broken leg.
Which was just amazing. Modern medicine these days is freaking unbelievable.
Josh, you understand how pissed I was at that douchebag last week? Like, how much he ruined our lives.
I do. I guess I can.
Look, it's a job. We get paid to do it. I mean, yeah. But just
some rumor monger that just throws anything out there, and then I just hated the lack of accountability for it. Like, it's cool if you want to say that. I mean, that's your deal. But to be like, I'm just telling you what I heard, so that you don't have any responsibility for what you've said. But if it's right, I expect to be, credited with this.
Well,
so
just
like
the audacity that Eddie goes out and spies, which was wrong. He's been disciplined internally.
Nobody saw me. I don't know what you're talking about.
But I mean, look, we kept tabs on what was going on. We talked to people. We felt almost 100%, I would say 99% sure that he was fine. And it was like, so we check into all that stuff, and then the guy just keeps coming. He's like, well, whatever. You guys are just covering up for Bob Stoops. And then he'll double down and
find another imaginary source.
And then he finds someone, and then someone else pops up. Oh, it's not a broken leg. It's an Achilles, though. I have it on a good source. It's like, yeah, this is the closest I've ever come to using the F word on the podcast.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
I just wanted to give a big F you to everybody out there that had anything to do with orchestrating that crap.
Yeah. Even alluding to it on message boards is
not
just
our people. I don't blame our people for coming back and saying, "Hey, what's this?"
Not at all.
Not our people.
There was some. You showed it to me. I think there was some college football rumor site that even grabbed onto it. They were like trying to be like a college football talk or something.
God, people just
they had like 280 followers or something.
Yeah, it was psychotic, is what it was, especially when. I mean, he's at the basketball game, hanging out,
walking up and down the
walking
stairs.
up and down stairs.
Oh, but he's got a limp. You can see it clearly.
That's how he's walked since the
Josh,
first time I ever met him.
You remember that was the same way with DeMarco Murray all the time. Like, he had a weird gait, and people would like see video of him walking on the sideline or something. They're like, oh, there's something's wrong with him. He's got a torn hamstring. They're just not reporting it.
Yeah, I do remember that. And when I first heard this thing, I was like, oh, here, it's Bedlam week. Because there's always some crap like this on Bedlam week. Like, oh, it's this, that, or the other. And I could never figure out why everyone chose to take this one so seriously. Like, why was this one? I mean, the source was not a source. I mean, and my sources. And the guy from the random OSU fan on Twitter that has something about can't send it out on your name, send it out, I'll hide it, I'm private. Like we talked about a couple weeks ago. Yeah. It's not that hard to figure out who you are. But
we kind of know who the guy is.
Yeah. At the same time, everyone got like all crazy about this. Like, why was this any more real than every other rumor on the planet from someone who clearly would have no connection to the University of Oklahoma or know anything about what's going on? It's something especially that would clearly be kept secret to such a high degree.
It's just another example where we get to show our credibility. And going back to Kerry talking to Al's class about the new kind of wave of journalism, I talk about this a lot. When you have this market saturated with all these people that think they can be journalists, what sticks out now not necessarily is who's first, it's who's credible, it's who's right. That's who the people come back to. And this was another example where we can show that we're worth coming back to and that will provide you credible news.
Look at Joe.
It's like a PSA.
Yeah.
The more you know.
All right. What else do we have on the backboard? I mean, Heisman Trophy coming up this Saturday. I'm just going to say, does anybody here think that Baker Dede is going to win it?
No.
Really?
No.
I don't.
If anything, they hurt each other because they're going to take votes away from one another.
I mean, just like Jason White and if Adrian Peterson had been the only, candidate for Oklahoma in 2004, he would have won it, I think.
Yep. Agreed.
The one thing that I've been pretty blown away by here lately is USA Today came out with their All-American team today. Sports Illustrated just came out with it. I'm looking at it right now, and the amount of love for Deshaun Watson over Baker Mayfield is kind of amazing to me, considering just the type of year that Baker's having with the pass efficiency record that he's going to just absolutely shatter. Deshaun Watson's second team Sports Illustrated All-American. Baker Mayfield doesn't get anything. Dede Westbrook is on first team on both the SI and USA Today, but I don't know. I guess that just bothers me that Deshaun Watson got the nod for second team over Baker.
Lamar Jackson first.
Yeah.
I can see it just
I
because
understand it.
he beat him last year. He went to the national championship. They're in the playoff again this year. And really, Clemson offensively, they got some really good receivers.
Yeah.
The Mike Williams kid, is that his name? Is it Mike Williams? He's a beast. Gallimore's a good running back. Or not Gallimore. I was confused the two.
Gallman.
Wayne Gallman or Dwayne Gallman or whatever. He's really good as a running back. Their offensive line isn't as good this year, and I think that's why his numbers have been down. But I mean, he's a big, strong, powerful. He's a better NFL prospect than Baker is. I mean, it's just I think it's a career achievement award. It's a good thing Baker's got another year because he can be that guy where everybody's like, why are they giving this to Baker over other people?
I think would be interesting is if Oklahoma beats Houston, if they're in the playoff, then I think that changes everything in regards to Baker because just that position, no matter what your stats are, no matter what your efficiency rating is, which is what he's doing in that department is really unbelievable. And looking at the record he's breaking of Russell Wilson's, but people look at quarterbacks first; they look at record, and those 2 losses early, I think, just maybe not disqualified him in a lot of people's minds, but put him so far back that he could just never fully gain up that ground, no matter how well he played, which he basically put together, 8 straight weeks of about as perfect quarterback play as you can play. And it still didn't matter because of those early perceptions.
Well, we're leading up to signing day now. Obviously, the bowl game coming first. Eddie and I will be headed down to New Orleans, my favorite place in the world. I'm just not a New Orleans guy. I don't like seafood.
Wait, what? Is that a thing?
Yeah, I don't like seafood.
I don't like seafood either, but
like all seafood, or like even shrimp and stuff. I don't like.
Here's
fish.
my thing with seafood. It's like all seafood are just insects that live in water and that they're a lot bigger. Like shrimp, those look like insects.
Yeah.
Lobsters look like giant insects.
Oh, I don't like seafood either.
Now,
But
like I'll eat I will do some sushi from time to time. Like I like crab. I do like crab a lot. I won't really do raw sushi, although I have in the past. But I mean, shrimp tempura, I can handle that. It's so weird because like when I was a little kid, my parents would take us to Red Lobster. I would destroy popcorn shrimp.
Yes, sir.
Like I would eat that like it was literally popcorn. So I can handle some. I probably need to try shrimp again. It's just I remember going someplace one time and they didn't deter them, and it was just disgusting.
Like David Spade and Tommy Boy.
Yeah, it was just like David Spade and Tommy Boy. The big black line in
so
there.
wrong.
If it comes out of the water, I will eat it.
I like the crustaceans. I'll do the lobster, the crab, and all that stuff. But a fish, I don't know. It's just.
I
bland.
like if you go to like what's the Robert De Niro place they have at the Hard Rock in Vegas, the sushi place. You know what I'm talking about, Josh?
No, one of the few hotels I have spent very little time in Las Vegas. That's one of the ones I don't know very well.
I'm not cool enough to be there, but just to go to that restaurant, we had to go, and they had this blackened cod. Oh my God, it was heavenly. I've never been a fish guy, but I will eat the blackened cod at whatever that restaurant is that Robert De Niro runs.
Nobu.
Yeah.
Nobu.
Yeah. The blackened cod at Nobu was a delight.
The grilled oysters at Drago's in New Orleans, really good. Gonna have to go back.
You put some pasta under any of that, I'll eat it. I like seafood pasta, but I don't. Does that combine different things? I don't know. Is that still kind of seafood?
That's still, I mean, shrimp, scallopini or whatever.
You could put anything in pasta and I'll eat it though.
I've never felt more apart from all of you. I don't know what's happening.
You're just
here.
seafood
Like
psycho.
I will probably die of mercury poisoning someday.
I think you're gonna.
I eat sushi daily.
I think that fish will be better than all the red meat and fried chicken I'm pouring down my.
I might
gullet.
have some sushi for dinner tonight. That sounds good, actually. Just not. I want it dead and cooked in my sushi.
Do you go out and get it, or how do you? I don't want to go out and like sit down and eat sushi.
I like the Crest sushi.
There you go.
Oh, that's scary.
I know that's sacrilege.
That's bad. Man.
I like grocery store sushi.
It's not quite gas station, but like Oklahoma's already landlocked. Like it feels kind of dangerous to begin with.
There's nowhere you can go.
They fly
Straight from Lake Hefner.
But you have to admit, they fly in a lot of seafood into Oklahoma, so I'm not that worried about it.
It has to be good.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I eat it when I'm in Oklahoma too. I love Sashi's on Western. That's one of my favorite.
Yeah, I like Musashi.
I love that place.
I don't know. Do we have what is the best sushi place in Norman?
In Norman, I guess I would probably. I mean, is In the Raw still open? No,
it's not.
No.
It's gone.
No, I don't know. I've always gone to Oklahoma City.
Eddie likes pad thai, where they cook the chicken outside.
Pad thai was amazing.
They cooked the chicken outside. They had so many health code violations, and Eddie was just like,
Doesn't matter.
"Don't care."
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's good.
Like they actually did a newspaper article taking photos of their chicken sitting outside with flies all over it, and Eddie was like,
Probably better.
Like Cousin
Eddie
Eddie.
was like, "I'll still eat it."
That's called authentic.
Like Cousin Eddie in Vegas Vacation, just throwing raw meat out in the hot sun on a rock.
By the way, they closed Tulio's this week.
It like forever.
It's done.
Wow.
I don't think I ever
That
ate
was an
I
establishment.
just
that
ate there. They must have closed it like the day after I ate there.
You had like the last meal at Tulio's ever served.
I guess I'll have to make Tarahumara's my place now.
Where do kids go underage drink nowadays now? What that
Is
place
that where they
was?
went to Tulio's?
I did my freshman year. One of my
They
fraternity
just didn't
brothers.
check?
No, one of my fraternity brothers was a waiter there.
Oh, okay.
But
I don't think I ever did it in public when I was underage. It was always, the get a 30 rack of natties and go to somebody's house.
go to the park.
Go out.
By the way, if you want something to kill some time, go watch YouTube videos about Irish people drinking American beer. And they have like Irish people eating cheeseburgers.
I think I've seen the.
It's really funny.
I think I've seen them drinking the beers. I don't think I've.
it's really good.
It's funny.
Have
All
you
right.
guys ever seen the? Oh crap!
No,
Sorry.
no,
Sorry,
go.
No, what I was gonna say. Have you guys ever seen the one where it's like why Germans are so scary, and it'll be like some like basic words around the world like balloon or clouds, and like in all the languages, French, English, it's all really nice, and then in German it's like ha ha, like it's this big mean scary noise. And I don't know how it feels. Exactly, like every time you hear it, it's hysterical. Like it brings me to tears laughing about it. But sorry, I had to.
No,
get that one.
I'm all for foreign language weird. I love Conan in Germany right now is fantastic. It was hilarious last night. All right, that's going to do it. Josh, appreciate all the great recruiting scoop. Eddie, Joe, thanks for all you. Trey Young, quickly, I know he was at the OU game the other night.
Yeah, he was at the game Wednesday night against Oral Roberts, and Joe'd probably be able to fill us in a little bit better, but it just seems like that comfort level with Oklahoma
It's definitely down to
it's
OU and
very
Kansas,
strong.
right?
Yeah, that's the word I'm hearing is that he's down to OU and Kansas. He had it down to Oklahoma and Kentucky. Kentucky got their second high-profile point guard commit, a guy named Quade Green out of Philadelphia, and I think that got Trey off of Kentucky. And I've said for a while, he's kind of 50-50 between Oklahoma and a blue blood. It's kind of that other 50 was always just going to be replaced, and now it's Kansas. And it'll be a battle of that familiarity with OU or going and trying to be a star at a place like Kansas.
I'll say this, from everything I've seen of OU so far, and I haven't got a chance to see him in person yet. Eddie, you've seen him quite a few times. He's going to come into a program with a lot of athleticism in it and some shooters. I mean, he could be the guy to pull it all together because Lon's got a lot of talented players out there.
They're just young right now.
Yeah.
I think when you look at Christian James, he kind of took a step last night against ORU. Rashard Odoms looks a little bit more, I guess, comfortable in his
he's looked
in his
good.
position this year, and
He's kind of messing with Doolittle's head a little bit, trying to get him in the right space.
Yeah, I like him coming off the bench, though. I think that they should stay with that, and we'll learn a lot more about this Oklahoma basketball team on Saturday when they play Wichita State up in Oklahoma City.
A lot of nice pieces. I thought Jordan Shepard, a late signee from last year, looked really good.
Yeah,
last
he was
night.
really good
Looked
last
good as a
night.
point guard. So if Trey Young comes to that team, he'll be more like of a Buddy Hield type than a Jordan Woodard, in just the sense of he's going to be a high volume shooter. He's going to shoot it a lot. But Eddie can talk about this. We watched him at practice. He's a guy with some handles, too. He's not just a guy that's going to sit there and shoot and be stagnant. He can move, he has some wiggle, and he has some handles. So he really could be a kind of a game-changing prospect if he stays in Oklahoma, which, to be honest, that doesn't happen a lot. I mean, Blake Griffin stayed in Oklahoma, but most of the guys, they tend to leave if you look back throughout history.
Yeah.
So it would be a big deal if Trey Young went to Oklahoma.
All right, that's going to do it. Appreciate everybody listening. You check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, SoundCloud, all the above. Give us a review if you don't mind. We love the reviews. We love everybody listening. Thanks so much for that. SoonerScoop, one last reminder, that $50 gift certificate to the fan shop is running out on Friday. It may be out if you're by the time you're listening to this. If it is, I'm sorry. But if you listen to this tonight, tomorrow, Friday midnight, it runs out. And it's the best deal you're going to get probably for another year. So if you're not a member of SoonerScoop, you've been thinking about it, go get that $50 gift card signing up for an annual membership and get yourself some nice bowl gear or someone you love for Christmas. So that's going to do it. Thanks to Josh McQuistion. Thanks to Eddie Radosovich, Joe Duvall. I'm Kerry Murdoch, and we'll see you next time on the Unofficial 40 right here on SoonerScoop.com.